with the ginger snap, how did you come up with it, and who was the first person to take it?
Ooh, gosh, good question. Actually, I do know the answer to this. So the funny part is what happened on. Okay, so I needed a finish that I could do to everybody. Originally, I was kind of using. I think the last person I remember using it was Carlito, who did this move where it's hook him for a vertical suplex and then it's the spinning neck breaker.
Mm-hmm.
He was the last one I remember doing. So when I was teaming with Darin Corbin, he used to use it as just as a signature because he was hitting the Yakuza kick was always his finish. So then I ended up using it when we split, but I ended up kind of jobbing it out a lot. And so I needed something new. And for a while, I was using a finish. When I started at IWA, it was called Shin City, where it was a double flying knee attack. And everyone thought that it was supposed to be a shining wizard. And I was like, no, it's actually supposed to be like, whatever. But people would like take it, like think that I was coming right for their nose. So people wouldn't sit right for it. And so like, it would kind of like bounce me off. So it only looked good like a couple times. And then The Undertaker and Randy Orton were having their feud.
Mm-hmm.
And Randy did a cutter and did the RKO and jumped so high, but for some reason Undertaker took it like a neck breaker, like turned in the air. And I was like, first of all, I was like mind blown by the fact that this because it's like you kind of have to jump up into it to take it that way rather than just have him pull you down. And I was shocked at how high Randy Orton jumped to hit this move because I'm so used to like the diamond cutter or anything. So I was like,
right,
you can jump super high into that. Chris Jordan at the time locally was using the cutter, and then he started using, I think it was the DVD. So I asked him, I said, do you care if I start using this? And actually, I was at a show in North Dakota way back when it was X Jam, even before like Northern Outlaw, Fully Loaded, all this stuff. It was X Jam. And I was wrestling Ryan Cruz, and I was just like, I'm going to jump as high as I possibly can. And I'm going to just try and hit this cutter. And like, whenever I pull down, it's what I, and so the funny part is I tried to jump as high as I could. I actually got like super high spring and like pulled him down, and like it looked cool. And I was like, well, this is definitely something I can do to everybody. And then very shortly after that, or right around that time, was when I started using it as like I would catch people out of the air.
Mm-hmm.
And right around then too is when we did King of Trios, or sorry, Tag World 06, and I hit the cutter on Cesaro, Claudio, and I hit it out of like a monkey flip, like they catapulted him into it. And the timing was great. And so then from then on at Chikara, they would try and have me catch people like out of the air and try and do that. And I know a lot of people do the cutter, but I always am like, mine's going to be the best. It's going to be a finish. That's how mine's going to be. And I think I had the name Ginger Snap like pulling up from somewhere because it was just natural. I was like, what's a move that, because everyone's like, you could do a snapmare driver, you could do something. I was like, well, I think this works. We'll just do it. And just stuck. Right. And so when I called it the first time, like then it started to catch on. So I was like, perfect, we'll keep it. That's how it kind of origined into it. And I've used it ever since. So I've been kind of since like 06, 07 predominantly using it.
Yeah, I was in middle school. So
oh dear.
Ooh, yeah. Wow. Let me grab my AARP card.
This is like when I talked to Dante Martin the first time and he asked me for advice and I was like, how old are you? And he's like 16. I was like, yeah, you're half my age. You'll be fine. Get the fuck away from me.
That's like
I'm not that young, I promise. I'm 28. But
it was like half those early trips with him and Darius. It was like I'd be tired. I'm like, can either of you drive? Don would be like, I don't even have my learner's permit yet. I'm like, Jesus Christ. All right, yeah. You know what? Just hang out, play your phone games. Me and Darius will figure it out.
You can do a 630, but you can't drive a car legally. Like,
right? Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Clark, what do you got for Darin?
Would you say the Ginger Snap is like pretty up there for most protected finisher?
Well, I think it's funny because as far as like if you've seen me, you kind of know, or like your pick of who's kicked out of it, you'd have to really go back mellow for who it has.
Is it like two hands, one hand?
I would say to be safe, probably two hands, because after a certain year, I kind of was like, I don't want to get in this habit of having finishes or having, like signatures that people kick out of, and it's just for the sake of kicking out of. I was like, the whole reason people buy that finishers are finishers is because you finish matches with them. And I started hitting the Ginger Snap more and more because when I started getting more and more like pushed more and more, I started winning more and more with it. So then I was like, I can't. And I would be on shows where people would like use it like early in the car. And I was like, mine's a finish. It was actually Robert Evans said something one time that I was like, I listened to him say it and it came across super snarky, but it was so 100% true. Somebody asked him, they were like, do you care if I use my version of your move? And he was like, he's like, how are you going into it? And he was like, explained it. And then he goes, and he's kicking out. It's just a 2 count. And he goes, oh, he's like, well, mine's going to be a finish later on. So, I mean, like, mine's over, like, because people know it's a finish. So you can go ahead and do it. It would be a silly choice if I were to think about doing somebody's move later, but I'm fine with whatever, because I know mine will be over. And he just walked away. And I was like,
Okay.
Okay.
I was like, that's great. Like, because yeah, that's the truth. Like, I feel at least when I hit it, that at least people know that it's the end. And I try not to, unless if it's like something that, whatever tomfoolery would go down, that. But I always believed that it should be protected. But a lot of my other stuff, like when I started coming up with signatures, like most of the stuff that I win with that's not that are always like weird roll-ups and pins. And for the longest time, I wanted to have my version of like Daniel Bryan's like small package where no one kicked out of it. And I wanted some like alligator clutch, Lamai Stroll, something that was like Corbin perfected this so well that people can't kick out of that pin. And it never really came into fruition because of things changing. So I never really got to establish that, but I could always establish the cutter. And it was one move that also when I started hitting, like catching people out of the air with it, that would be the one that would get more attention. So people knew that I did that.
All right. And
I think since it's fresh in my mind, you can always circle back to that doink pin that was floating around on Twitter.
Oh, the one on Typhoon?
Yeah, where he's like the hog pin.
Yeah, like it's funny. It's like he knew he was supposed to grab the tights, but he's like, screw it. Like no one's kicking out. No one's kicking out of the right. I wish it made that like weird music block sound from Mario where it's like, and I love that it's a flying clothesline right before that. Like flying clothesline, I need to sit on you like an O'Connor roll and pull your dick up. Like
yeah, imagine that. Watch the line, watch the dick.
Like, I would love to call that and be like, all right, so I don't know, what do you want to do? Can you charge me in the corner? I'll sidestep you. I come off with a line. Do you think that'd be enough to put me down? Yeah, you're right. If I grab your dick on the pin, are you going to want to kick out? Well, I'm kind of a big dude. Well, I'll yank it. I mean,
like I'm gonna
get in there.
I'm out in the garden here,
I'll
and that's
give you
a really
tugboat.
oh,